What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome to the Dog or Pass podcast. I'm your host, Madlab, with my man in the back, Dayton, who we are now back in the rhythm of things. Dayton, what's going on, brother?
Not too much. Not too much. We were just talking before this before we went live about a big fight coming up in the square ring, in the boxing ring over in Bournemouth across the pond. Ryan Rosicki, a local guy to me, he's going to be going up against Chris Belal Smith. That's a big one. I'm going to be all tuned in for that. So hopefully that goes well.
Yeah,
your Knicks are doing well too.
My Knicks are on the board. We start fucking one more sleep, and we see if we can nip it. It's actually interesting, right? Because if you remember, I don't know how much you follow basketball, but in '99, when they went to the finals, it was against the Spurs that they lost to. So this is like the rematch, in a sense. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But yeah, the Belal Smith fight, you got me on that now because I do like Belal Smith. I actually had a wager on him in his last fight against Ganton. He's a good fighter. I don't know much about this hometown kid, but I'm going to do some research on him. And I'll obviously be rooting him for you. And if the number's good enough, I will definitely throw a little shot on it. But I'm ready to go with this card. We got a couple things. We always do the spring cleaning a little bit before we jump into the car. I did my hair today, fucking looking good, for you guys because we're back. Last week's card. Listen, I'm not going to be bullshitting you. I slept half of it. I slept half. I had to go back and I had to look at some things. But we did really, really well. We went, I believe, 10-2 on the night, up units again on the night. The biggest bet on the board that we actually did have was a complete push. That was the Alex Perez fight. But everything else hit. We lost on a Ming Yang tied to a parlay, but we hit boxing. We hit Amori. We hit a bunch of different bets on the board. So we went up for the week, which was good. DraftKings was really good for us. We were on the side of some of the dogs. But I'm not going to speak on the Alex Perez thing because I got to be honest with you, I didn't watch the whole fight. I went back and I saw the nut shot and I saw Dayton. Did you watch it or no?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, so what happened was because Dayton was on the other side of that fight, I was on Perez, he was on the other side. It was a push. It was a no contest because what happened was Perez got kicked in the balls. He went down. He was apparently puking in a bucket, and he couldn't continue. So I saw the blow. Listen, at the end of the day, you got these people on Twitter and stuff going, he was faking it. Was he really faking it? I mean, at the end of the day, you have a cup on, yeah, but sometimes the cup does more damage than good. If the cup adjusts the wrong way, your nuts gets clipped inside of it, or I'm not going to say that he did or didn't, but who cares? If it's a money thing, you guys pushed. Nobody lost money. Nobody won money. Wasn't a robbery. It wasn't like they gave Perez the fight or anything like that. When it comes to your nuts, man, who the fuck is to say it's real or not? That would be an asinine statement from a guy saying, you got kicked in the nuts, you're faking it. Anybody who's ever been kicked in the nuts, anybody who's ever played sports knows that if you get hit there, sometimes you could punch somebody there and it's one thing. I could flick you there just in the right spot like that. I could flick you there and you'll be in fucking pain. You'll feel like you got to take a shit. There's 100 things that can happen. So I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to say, I think it's ridiculous that was the main thing that people were talking about. That was the culprit thing that people were talking about. More people should be talking about Angela Hill. More people should have been talking about a 42-year-old woman coming in and showcasing the way she did. That's what more people should have been talking about. On the flip side, you had the Holly Holm fight, which I did not watch it either. I saw some highlights and stuff, but apparently she was robbed in that fight. No surprise anymore after we saw what happened a couple weeks ago. But overall, it was a really, really good card. Obviously, I don't think we have cards anymore without some kind of controversy. So the Alex Perez controversy was last week. We'll see what kind of controversy we get this week. But all in all, we are going to continue our winning streak. We're going to continue patting ourselves with units. And if you want the rest of my content, go to the madlabmma.com. We do everything. DraftKings, we do live streams, we do private breakdowns, we got Fight Brain Technology, the first person to do Fight Brain Technology, all sorts of stuff. So you're not going to get more content in one spot for combat sports than you will by us. It's just, I don't even think it's possible. But I want to bring over another narrative to this card now that we're coming into this card, Bonfim and Muhammad. And basically the narrative last week, I remember I told you guys the narrative was movement. I said, there's a big narrative on this card for me, and like you got to hone in on certain things, and that's movement. I said, you got to really concentrate on the movement in some of these fights. And I'm not talking about the lines. I'm talking the physical movement of the way that people actually fight. And that was a big portion of capsizing that card the right way, was concentrating on movement. There was a lot of narratives. This one is do not make things more difficult than they need to be. You're going to hear breakdowns with all these, well, he fought this guy in 1990. This is a card where you really don't have to make it difficult for yourself. You know, there's an old saying, Dane, what's that saying? It says work more efficiently, not more. Is that the saying?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, there's an old saying like work more efficiently, not work more. They say it a different way, but that's basically
work smarter, not harder.
Right. Work smarter, not harder. That's exactly the narrative of this card. You don't got to make this card difficult. There's a lot of answers within these matchups that you could just say, this is the answer. This is what I'm going with. I don't need to worry about how he matched up with this and his takedown defense numbers and the percentages of strikes. Like, this is a card where last week it was movement. This week is work smarter, not harder. So let's get into the main event here. We got Gabriel Bonfim versus our boy Belal Muhammad. And I say that sarcastically because I'm not a Belal Muhammad fan in any way, shape, or form. You got Belal at -125. You got Bonfim at +105. The over is -130. The under is +100. You know, this is an interesting matchup because this is a fight where you're looking at, Belal, and you kind of know what he's capable of. And even though he has lost, his last two fights, he's lost to JDM and he's lost to Ian Machado Gary. Now, I can point to a lot of things that I don't like that Belal has been doing as of late. One thing is consistency with his game plan. Other things like his attitude and stuff like that, that's nothing to do with the cage. But his consistency with his game plan sometimes just hasn't resonated with me because at one point in time, you kind of knew everything he was going to do. You knew he was going to come in. You knew he was going to be durable. You knew he was going to have great cardio. You knew that he was maybe not going to spam takedowns, but that was going to be like the forefront of what he wants to do. Now in these fights, now he comes in and he's like, well, I'm going to beat him in his own game. And when you think he's bullshitting, when you actually think he's bullshitting, like, he ain't going to fucking do that. He actually tries to do it. And that's a concern for me, going forward. It's almost like he still thinks he has like something to prove, which is strange. He is getting a little bit older, and he's going against Gabriel Bonfim, who, when you look at his striking style, he's got kind of that like Conor McGregor-esque style. Like sometimes he's kind of straight up, sometimes he's kind of bouncing on his toes north and south. If you watch the fight with Randy Brown, his leg kicks can be absolutely debilitating. Very good striking, very crisp. He doesn't really waste any movements. He's more about precision. So I do like his style. I do think he's crisp. I do think he's sharp. The problem with this is I know what Belal is capable of. I know the level of opposition that he's fought, even though, like I said, he dropped his last two. When you look at Gabriel Bonfim, yeah, he's on a 4-fight win streak. He fought Randy Brown, tough guy. I mean, I'm very well, dialed in with Randy Brown, very tough guy, but extremely beatable. Thompson, Williams, Lusa. He lost to Dalby. That's when Dalby was on his little bit of a run when he came back to the UFC. But so when you look at that resume, you're like, yeah, he's on a 4-fight win streak, but he's really not beating anybody like of this super, super high caliber. Like Randy Brown was like the fight that kind of put him in this spot. When you look at Belal's fought killers for the past how long? I mean, and he's not getting rolled over. Like, yeah, he may lose. Like, he'll lose to JDM. He'll lose to, Ian Machado Gary. But who's really not losing to those guys? Those guys are the top of the heap, right? So when I look at this fight, I just see like a clear path for him here. Like it's pretty clear. This guy's been 5 rounds numerous times. He's got 5-round cardio for days when he's dialed in. His wrestling is very aggressive, very seamless, very smothering when he decides to use it. His striking's, good. He's extremely durable. He shows up for the moment. Like there's so many things you could just keep saying about Belal, and I'm not a Belal fan. I'm not a Belal fan at all. I don't like Belal in any way, shape, or form. I think he's like kind of cringy. And when you look at Bonfim, this is a guy who, yeah, he can take the lead early. He could start peppering him with leg kicks. He can get a little bit more aggressive. Belal likes to kind of sit back and wait a little bit. He's more of a intuitive counter guy. where Gabriel Bonfim's trying to like paw at you and hunt you down. So yeah, he could take a leader, but what's going to happen in the third round, in the fourth round, in the fifth round, when those championship rounds start kind of accumulating? You know who's been there 100 times before. You know who's used to those waters. So although I do agree that it should be somewhat of a close fight, I do think it's underselling Belal in this spot a little bit, unless he's just not the guy anymore. Unless like the JDM fight and the what is it called? And the JDM fight and the other fight is just not an anomaly. It's not because they fought, he fought high level competition. Maybe he is taking a downturn. You got to show me that first, though. You got to show me that a guy like Gabriel Bonfim is going to come in now, hand him his third loss. And I'm not willing to really bank on that. So I actually think the number on Belal is a lot more intriguing than the number on Bonfim. I do think there's value on Belal here. So like I said, he could prove me wrong, and then all of a sudden, maybe his next fight, he's going to be out the door plus 200 against somebody else. Who knows? But right now, they're kind of sitting on that line saying, look, like, is he or is he not? Like, he still should be the favorite because of the level of opposition, the sample size that we have of him. So we got it, but I'm a little nervous too because we're not sure yet. That's kind of what the line's indicating, but I'm not ready to sell that off yet. I'm willing to take a chance on that until I see it for the third time against someone like Bonfim. So I'm going to go with Belal here. He's not a finishing guy. He's more of a decision merchant. And I'm going to go Belal Muhammad by decision. Next fight, co-main event, very intriguing fight, very interesting fight. Another fight that has question marks looming all around it on one side. You got minus 210 for Brendan Allen, and you have plus 180 for Edmen Shahbazyan. The over is minus 185. The under is plus 160. Very, very dangerous over at 1.5, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But when I look at the Edmen Shahbazyan, this is a guy, when he came in, this guy's got a lot of talent. This guy's a really, really good fighter. But there's certain fighters that don't have the ability to control their gears, right? They only know one way. They don't understand really how to put it in first gear, drive, put it in second gear, kind of gradually go in. He's kind of got like Joe Loizon disease. I don't know if you remember Joe Loizon back in the day, but Joe Loizon, as he got older, he started to realize like his conditioning wasn't going to hold up, and he was like first round or bust. Like he would just come out, swing for the fences, and he would 10-8 round you or finish you. And then in the second round, if you lasted, he was gassed to the gills. He was backing up. He was bloody. Like, it was kind of a pattern with Joe Loizon as they got older. Shahbazyan, on the other hand, it's not the rhyme or reason why he's doing it. We know why Loizon was doing it, but he's more just like, it's just wired within him. Like, he comes out really, really hot. And if he doesn't finish you, there's a track record of him just fading and turning into a different fighter. The last couple fights, win or lose, it doesn't matter. You've seen kind of a little bit of adjustment with him. Right, you've seen a little bit of an adjustment with him where he's kind of pulling back a little bit. He's not going from first to sixth. He's kind of going through his gears a little bit. But these are small sample sizes. Like, at the end of the day, when push comes to shove and you're put into a situation, your instinct takes over. We talk about that all the time. How instinct just kind of takes over. I could coach you to take the first step, your left foot. I want you to take your first step to be your left foot. We do it over and over and over for 12 weeks. But if you're so used to stepping with that right foot first, in a fight, when your instincts kick in, you're not thinking about, well, coach told me left foot first. You're going right to your right foot. It's what's comfortable for you. So if he's in battle with Brendan Allen, they're in a situation, he feels like his fight or flight's kicking in. He's just going to go to do what he's used to doing. And that's balls to the wall right out of the gate. And he'll welcome that. And, Brendan Allen wants to really play a game with him and kind of tire him out. Brendan Allen's going to kind of push that on him. Like, let's go. Let's get a little active in the first round. Let's gas you out a little bit because I can go 3 rounds. I've proven it 100 times. I can go 5 rounds. I proved it many a times. You still got more to prove in that category. So, I do think that this is an interesting fight because Shahbazyan shows he has it in him to kind of chip through the gears, but it's just not consistent, and you can't trust it. Where Allen, he's there to fight every time. He doesn't make the greatest decisions all the time. He puts himself in some bad spots, in some situations. But how much more does this kid have to prove? Like, this kid's a really good fighter. When everybody, you think about how many people were on the Ritter, in that fight. Everybody thought the Ritter was going to beat him. He made the Ritter look kind of foolish in there. We were all over the Ritter. We talked about it on this show. I mean, we were all over Brendan Allen. We talked about it all on this show, and a lot of people were against me. He beat Vettori. He lost to Hernandez and Imavov. He beat Curtis. He beat Craig. He beat Silva. Like, he was on a huge winning streak for a while. Even guys like Jocko, like, you guys don't remember Jocko. Jocko wasn't a great fighter, but Jocko was a guy who was extremely consistent. He was like one of those guys on the roster that was there for fucking years, and nobody really paid no mind to him because he would come, he'd fight, he'd win, take home his money, and that's it. You wouldn't hear from him again. He's beaten some really good guys. He's got a lot of experience. He's obviously a very good grappler. Striking has come a long way. He's pretty durable. His conditioning is good. To me, this is like, if you're taking a flyer on Shahbazyan, you're taking him kind of win inside that, under that 1.5. Like, you're not really expecting him to go a full 3 rounds and being able to keep up a pace or just continuously put it on Allen. You're looking at him to possibly get it done under 1.5 rounds. And then after that, you're going live on Brendan Allen. I like Brendan Allen in this fight. I think Brendan Allen wins this fight. I think Shahbazyan's going to do what he does. He's going to look really, really good, really hot in round number 1. And then little by little, Brendan Allen's just going to start taking over this fight. He's going to smother him. He's going to beat him up a little bit, loosen him up, possibly even finish him. So give me Brendan Allen in the spot. Not buying into Shahbazyan just yet. All right, next fight. We have Tommy Nolan versus Ziam. This is a crazy number. I'll tell you that right now. This is a crazy number. I do not agree with this number in any way, shape, or form. Minus 310 for Ziam, plus 260 for Tommy Nolan. Minus 210 is the over, plus 180 is the under. Yeah, I don't agree with this price. I agree with the side. And we'll get into that in a minute, but I don't agree with this price. Tommy Nolan is a big dude for the division. He's very well-rounded. He doesn't make the greatest decisions. Like sometimes he'll put himself in some bad positions. But this is a guy who ultimately, like, for the division, he's big for the division. There's really not like a major hole in his game. Like, he's got holes like everybody else, every young fighter. Everyone's got these certain holes, but there's nothing glaring, right? There's nothing like, say, a Jordan Levitt who's on this card, who is a very slick grappler, right? We all know that. You go on the ground with him, you're asking for trouble. Or a Chase Hooper, you go on the ground with him, you're asking for trouble. But 9 times out of 10, if you're a really good striker, that's like a major hole in their game. Like, visually, even an amateur that doesn't watch can just say, that doesn't look right. It's like, is that the way it's supposed to look? So you could just see, like, but there's no real glaring hole in his game. He's got some nasty kicks. He's big. He's got some decent grappling. He's got good power. Like, he's a good fighter. He's coming up. He has come up short, and in obviously one of his fights, but he has shown resilience, and since then he has bounced back to win 4 straight. One of them against Campbell, where Campbell actually dropped him, and he had to show a little resilience and come back and win that fight. So he's on a little bit of a streak. He's feeling himself right now, coming off that loss in his debut. And he's fighting a guy in Ziam, where this is another guy who's on a major run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight win streak. But outside of like Frivola, like, who has he really beaten, right? But he's beaten him pretty convincingly, like, when you watch these fights. So you can't get mad at him for who they're putting in front of you. Like, I don't want you guys to think I ever shit on fighters like that. We're like, well, who has he really fought? He's never fought anybody. I'm just stating the obvious, but it doesn't mean that they're avoiding people, because, unfortunately and fortunately, the UFC is not like boxing, where boxing, you literally can avoid fighters. I mean, you can avoid fighters in the UFC, but you're pretty much telling the boss, like, you don't want to take this fight, you're not a company man. Like, okay, we'll see what happens next fight. You want to keep avoiding fights? Then keep avoiding fights. So you got to kind of be a company man in the UFC, where in boxing, it's a little bit different. Like, they give you a mandatory, but you can avoid that mandatory for a certain amount of time. You could duck, you could dodge, because at the end of the day, they know where the money fights are. They know where the money fights are. So if Mayweather was supposed to fight Pacquiao 10 years ago, and Mayweather kept dodging it. If he came back 5 years later and said, I want that fight, which they obviously did, I want that fight, they're going to give it to him. Why? Because they know it's going to generate money. So the model is different, so you can't blame Ziam for the resumes that are the people that are being handed to him. The reason why I'm picking Ziam in this fight, I just think he's cleaner. I think he's more slick. I think he's more smooth. I think he's more fluid. I think everything that he does is a step ahead of Nolan. I think Nolan is good. I think he's big. Everything I just said. but I do think like his style is a little, what's the word I'm looking for when it's not smooth? It's like just more rough and bombastic. It's more choppy. It's like he's kind of just like, I don't know. He almost looks like he's anxious in there when he's doing things. Like nothing is like really connected or smooth or fluid. Ziam is like very composed, very patient, very fluid. Everything that he does is just very well thought out and smooth. And I think that wins him the fight here. So although I do not agree with this line at all, I do think the right side is Ziam. So give me Ziam in this spot. I'll say Ziam by decision. Okay, we move on to another interesting fight. We got Bryce Mitchell, minus 140 against Santiago Luna, plus 120. The over is minus 180. The under is plus 155. Now, this one is another question mark fight where, like I said, you don't make things harder than they need to be. Like some people just keep throwing these like analogies out, and I don't know if it's because they want to look smart or they just don't want to not talk. Like you can really simplify this. There's two ways to look at this. One way is, where is Bryce Mitchell's head, right? You could use that narrative. Like that's one thing you got to kind of factor in, right? Where is his head? Like, is he on this like retreat in his mind? Is he going to be there? Is he going to be locked in? Is he going to be prepared? Or is this more of a stage for him to promote his conspiracy theories of what he wants to promote? Because at the end of the day, fighting is not only physical, it's very mental. And if you're not locked in and you're not thinking about the fight and you're not drawing up blueprints, you absolutely could lose. We've seen it 100 times. You could blame Tyson against Douglas. I don't blame that fight on anything, but Douglas showed up and outboxed him that night. But people will say, well, because Customado and the drugs he was on and his divorce and this and that. You could blame it on all you want. But the fact of the matter is, my opinion is Douglas came in there and he just boxed him out of his shoes. We had that. The stars aligned for him that night. His mother passed away, and he came in and he just fought a perfect game plan. So, but you can look at it any way you want, but that's something real. Like there are situations like Oliver McCall when he started crying in the corner. I don't care how good you are. You had a mental breakdown, you're crying in the corner. So when you look at Bryce Mitchell, where is he? Where is he right now? On the other side, it's Luna. Is this kid going to be able to stop the pressure if Bryce Mitchell does show up? Is he going to be able to stop that grappling pressure? Is he going to be able to get up off his back? Is he, because that's what Mitchell wants to do. Now, when you go back and you watch the fights with Mitchell that he lost against like Gene Silva and stuff like that, and even Topuria has never been taken down in his career. Bryce Mitchell was able to at least take him down. Yes, he lost the fight, but these are small wins that you got to look at. You're not going to take everybody down. You got to look at the entries. You got to look at, how is he entering? What is he doing after he enters? How is he chain wrestling? Like there's a lot. It's not just like, oh, well, he shot 5 times and he missed. Okay, he shot 5 times and he missed, but how did he shoot? Like, did he just go up against somebody who's very, very well versed and knows how to sprawl, or was he shooting from 5, 6, 7 feet away? Where it counts as a shot, but it really meant shit. Like that was a desperation shot. So you got to kind of look at all these shots. You got to look at how he's getting in, how his entries are, and are they wired together correctly, or are they just really sloppy shots? A lot of his shots are wired really correctly. Like he gets in on the hips, he gets in deep, but unfortunately, he fought a couple guys who are very well versed as well. You have Topuria. He's never been taken down in his career. Bryce Mitchell was at least able to take him down. Did he start getting desperate and sprawling and stuff like that? Yeah, and that's probably why he got submitted, because he didn't want to stand on the feet no more, and he was just going on. Same thing with Gene Silva. He didn't want to stand and strike with him anymore. But what did he do? He started shooting, started getting a little bit desperate, and Gene Silva, submitted him. When you look at Santiago Luna, this is a guy who, honestly, I think he's going to be difficult in the beginning to shoot on, because when you watch Santiago Luna fight, he kind of leans to one side. He doesn't stay on the center line. He's not kind of up. He kind of like leans and sprawls, and he kind of touches you out here. It's almost like an old school boxing style. If you watch like the old school fighters, like from the 40s and the 50s, when they had the different gloves, like they kind of lean to that one side and they're kind of pulling, reaching. That's kind of what he does. You know what I mean? And maybe that's a style that he does emulate. You know what I mean? But it's tough because not only are you leaning to one side, you're off the center line and you're kind of, you're sticking this way, but you're also very low center of gravity. You're very buckled down, and you're not straight up. So it could give him a little bit of trouble, in the beginning. And when you look at Santiago Luna's striking, it's far better than Bryce. If Bryce doesn't get this fight to the ground, or he decides not to, he just decides to give him like a veteran lesson, and he's going to be in trouble. Like, he will be in trouble in this fight. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think this is a fight where Bryce Mitchell's going to be able to ground this kid. Bryce Mitchell's going to be able to kind of have that top heavy control, and kind of do what he wants on the ground with him. So I'm going to say Bryce Mitchell wins this fight. I'm going to say Bryce Mitchell wins this fight by submission. Next fight, we had a little late replacement on this one. This is the first fight of the night. Well, first fight on the main card. You have Junior Tafa versus Baraniewski, I believe you pronounce it. I can never pronounce this guy's name. Yeah. So Junior Tafa plus 285. Baraniewski is minus 350. Over and under is plus 275. The under is minus 340. So the guys, they're indicating right out of the gate that this fight's, ended in knockout. I agree. When you look at Baraniewski, you're looking at all first round. It looks great, right? I mean, when you're looking at that, especially for DraftKings, you're like 9,000 first round. Let's fucking go. And then when you look at Junior Tafa and you look at a guy who, ultimately is a very good striker. He's a very good striker. He's got a horrible takedown defense, and his chin can be literally fucking had. Like, literally, his chin can be had. He's got like Johnny Walker chin, right? So what do you do there? Do you trust the guy who is a first-round merchant that's going to come out and he's going to just throw balls to the wall? But then what happens if Junior Tafa makes it to the second round? You really don't have a sample size of Baraniewski there? Or do you go with Tafa and hope that, like, he kind of stays away and kind of avoids that car crash in the beginning, and then kind of tries to pick them apart with a little bit more technical skills? It's really a hit or miss with this, and that's why I don't agree with the price tag, because I can see either of these guys flattening each other out. I just don't trust Tafa's chin. I don't trust Tafa's chin. I don't think the UFC trusts Tafa's chin, and I think that's why they're bringing in him to fight Baraniewski, even though it's short notice, to get another highlight on this kid's resume. You got to remember, there's something to be said about regions, right? So the one thing with the UFC model, when people talk about business, it's business. Look, they're doing a business. They complain about it all the time, right? Everybody complains about what a business it is. They're taking from the fighters, doing this. So if you want to do that, yeah, it is a business. So what does ultimately a business want to do? They want to expand, right? They want to expand. They want to expand the market. So where are the places that they're saturated? They're saturated in the United States. They're saturated in the Asian market. They're saturated in the Brazilian market. They're saturated in like these certain markets. But there's a whole other ocean of life out there. So they're trying to get the Italian, like even the Georgian market now, they got them. They're trying to get the Italian market. We can't seem to find an Italian fighter, right? We can't seem to find a good Italian fighter. We've got a couple decent ones. Poland, obviously they have, what's it called? Polish Power. But that's one guy that's in his 40s. He's done. So like they want guys from other regions that will give that whole other region something to root for, something to tune in for. You give a country a person, you're going to get all those eyes. So, you're looking at Australia and stuff like that. They got their guys. They have champions already. They got people. Poland had one. They don't have one anymore. They had, I think KK was Polish too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But they're gone. Like they're in their 40s. Like they need new blood. So I think this could be a situation where they're trying to build another Polishman up. They're trying to build another guy from the Polish side to say, look, this is the best we got right now. Let's get him a little. Let's put a couple under his belt, some nice highlight knockouts, and see what happens. So. I like him here. I think he's going to probably end it the same way with another big knockout. But if this goes to round 2, like I wouldn't bet this fight at all, but if this goes to round 2, you might want to take a live shot on Tafa and see what the number is, depending on, which way it goes. So official pick is going to be Baraniewski. I'm going to say under 1.5 rounds. I'm not going to say he's going to knock him out in the first, but I'm going to say he's going to do it under 1.5. But the longer this fight extends, it's going to be more and more leaning in Tafa's favor. So that's pretty much it. This card, obviously, I'm going to stay awake for. We do have some boxing this week too that I'm gonna I'll be breaking down. I actually think. Let me see. Let me just double check real quick because I want you guys to check this fight out. If it's
I got some stats on Rosicky.
oh, you do?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I talked to him. Why I'm looking this up.
All right. So here's some reasons. Although Rosicky is let me check. DraftKings right now. Rosicky is a plus 275 dog. Chris Belal Smith is minus 370. But you got Rosicky. He's undefeated at cruiserweight. 18 of his fights have ended inside 3 rounds. He's never been knocked down. He's coming off a little bit of an injury, so he's gonna be.
What's the injury?
I think it was I think it was a shoulder or an arm injury. I'm not sure, but no, this guy, like, if you watch some of his interviews, he's furious. He wants it. He's got a draw versus Peralta, which is probably one of his hardest fights to date. I don't know. He's a savage. I don't know if you watch one of his clips. Actually, that's what I was doing when I missed the graphic. I was actually watching a Rosicky clip, and it was him and Chris Belal Smith in the interview. The interviewer goes, "Chris, what do you think people are going to be saying about you after the fight?" And Chris Belal Smith goes, a very well-rounded fight."
Yeah, that's what he is, dude. That's what Chris Belal Smith is. He's very well-spoken. You know, he's a technician. That's one thing I would say about. So, like, you're taking a technician. Like I said, I don't know much about Rosicky. You do. You know more than me. But if you say he's got that Jack Dempsey style to him, you know, that could be tough. Just for the fact that Belal Smith is gonna stay away from him. You know what I mean?
Then he asked Rosicky, and Rosicky sat there, dead stare, and just said, "Oh, probably wondering if I have something in my gloves."
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, he's an animal. Like, what? Just go look at his Instagram after this after we end this show, because
yeah,
he's
I'm
an
gonna
animal.
check him out. I will tell you guys this. I wasn't gonna break this fight down, but I'm gonna end up breaking this fight down now. And then obviously, Dayton, I'll call you during before tomorrow or before Saturday. And I'll tell you what my ultimate decision is, what I'm gonna take. But yeah, man, listen, I'll just say this about Chris Belal Smith. He's a very good fighter. He's very technical. He's very beloved over there in the UK. UK judges love him. The UK people love him. So it's an uphill battle for Rosicky. But Chris Belal Smith is 35, 36 years old. He's been through wars. You look at his resume, he's got a ton of wins, obviously, but a lot of those were some wars. A lot of those are some big, big wars. So I've seen him hurt numerous times in fights. So if Ryan Rosicky can get in on him with that, like, Jack Dempsey style, and hit him with a couple of shots, the judges can't stop a knockout. You know what I mean? The judges can't stop you from getting knocked out. They could stop you on the cards, you know, almost like they did last week. They could kind of rob you on the cards, but they can't stop a knockout. So if he goes in there with that mindset, like, I'm going to go in there and just throw a heavy, heavy letter, I'm not going to leave this to the judges from hell or high water, the knockout prop would probably be your way to go, because he's not going to beat him on the decision. There's no way, dude. There's no way he beats him on the decision. It would have to be by knockout. So what is the knockout prop?
Let me check that out.
Belal Smith's never been knocked out, by the way, but that's the way I would have to bet it, because I wouldn't.
Nothing right now. There's nothing yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to look at that, because he would have to literally outclass Belal Smith for them to give him that fight over the pond. He would have to completely outclass him, which, you know, I don't see happening, because he's more of a puncher than a boxer. You know what I mean? Unless he drops him in several rounds, and you're getting, you know, if he drops him in several rounds, and obviously you're getting a 10-8 round and stuff like that. But if this thing goes, is it a 10-round fight or 12? It's got to be 12. It's 12 round fight.
I think it's 12.
Yeah, it's got to be 12. So it's a 12-round fight, and it goes to the cards. You can almost guarantee that Belal Smith is getting the nod. But if the knockout prop is like +4 and change, +500, why not? Why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. This is like, that's what I'll say. Like, he's not going to take him by decision. The only way he's gonna win is if he knocks him out. But that's the thing. Like, Belal Smith has to get to the end of that 12th round. And I think for any fighter against Rosicky, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be a good one. I'm really excited for it now.
Me too. You got me excited for it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to break it down for my subs this week. I do got a question to ask you guys. This is totally, and then we'll sign off. This is totally un-MMA related. So I'm anyone who knows me, I'm a huge fisherman, huge fisherman. I got a question because I'm always looking for new lures. I'm mostly a morning fisherman. I do a lot of morning fishing. I don't have the time anymore to morning fish. So I've been doing a lot of night fishing around 5, 6 o'clock when the sun is going down. It's the second feeding, rotation. Big bass fisherman. I'm looking for some really good night topwater lures that you guys, maybe the freshmen out there. I got the jitterbug. I got all the topwater, the grass frogs and stuff like that. But if there's one really good lure that you guys love that are topwater night lures, a color, Gary Yamamoto color worm, Senko 10-inch, 5-inch drop shot, whatever, drop it in the comments. Like, I know it's completely unboxing MMA related, but I'm always willing to try new lures and new things for fishing. So if you got anything, if there's any fishermen out there, let me hear it.
I got a dog before we head
and then we got Dayton's dog of the week. That's right.
All right, you ready for it?
Yep.
We didn't talk about it, but we talked about it before we recorded. There's not really any lines at the top of the card that I like too much, so I'm gonna go with Edgar Chavez plus 115.
Yo, that's an awesome picture.
Yeah. It was just on Google Images. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm using that one.
I'm gonna call this right now. That is going to be a contender for fight of the night. That's how good that fight's going to be. That's going to be a really fucking fun fight, dude. Really fun fight. And a fight that Charles can absolutely win. Absolutely. So I love that pick, actually.
Okay, Bruno Silva, Edgar Chavez, lock it up right now.
All right, so that's it. Dayton's dog pick of the week. Dayton pushed last week. Right? Yeah, it was a push last week, so we looked to get on the board again.
It was a kick last week, actually, to the nuts.
What? Yeah, to a kick to the nuts. Yeah. So we look to move on this week. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Let's go Knicks tomorrow, game 1. Hopefully you guys are pulling for your boy over here. I did my fucking hair for you guys today. A little good juju for the Knicks. And then hopefully next week we'll be up on the series. We'll be up in our bankroll, and we will be getting ready to go up again on another UFC card. So good luck. God bless, and I'll see you soon.